This is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. I hope you enjoyed this Critical Thought, your daily discussion on game design. Welcome to today's Critical Thought. As wherever you're going, thank you to currently 977 subscribers here on YouTube. I hope everyone is enjoying the content, and for you first-timers, be sure to like and subscribe. We are now less than 30 away from 1,000. Getting really excited here. For those of you who missed the Twitch stream the other night, I actually streamed some Bloodborne for the first time. 4 hours of me epically failing at the game. So I decided I'm going to start over with a combination of recording and streaming again now that I have the idea of the game down. And I'm going to be uploading that to YouTube in the coming days. If you're really curious to see me fail for that time, let me know in the comments below, because if I'm going to do something like that, it's just going to be one massive download, one massive upload, because I'm not going to take the time to carefully arrange my failure. But regular coverage of Bloodborne should be starting soon. Again, I still need to finish up the Soul and Sanctuary play. Actually, it is finished, but I actually need to get it uploaded. But that will be coming soon as well. For today's Critical Thought, we're going to be turning to a topic I talked about a few days ago, and that is regenerating health systems in game design. This is a topic that I'm kind of surprised more people haven't really talked about, or I haven't seen too much coverage or analytical topics about. But this is a very big deal regarding changing how games are developed, structured, and more importantly, the pacing of a game. And it's one of those topics you may not really think about all that much today because it has become so ingrained in action and even some RPG design as well. But this is a very big deal, and we're going to see when we get through it all in one video. So, to get everyone on the same page, in pretty much from 80s into the, I want to say early to mid thousands, games were built on set health. There's no regeneration. You're either going to die, or you're going to hopefully find a health item in the level and use that to recover. This led to, and is a major part of, essentially one-run plays, where the game is actually easier if you don't die due to upgrades and preserving your power-ups. Games like the original Castlevania, shmups like R-Type back in the day, and even maybe some action games who have like power-ups and sub-weapons, like Contra for instance. Now, one-run game design or one-run plays, that's another topic easily. But the point is, this turned many games into a war of attrition. And sometimes half the fight of a boss battle is simply getting to that fight while having enough health to tank it and get through it. Again, many early action games would be examples of this. Castlevania, Mega Man, Metroid, you name it. But this was the status quo again from the late 80s into the 90s. And then in the thousands, and I'm actually drawing a blank here on the first actual game to feature a regenerating health system, things started to change. And now these days, players are able to recover their health through an in-game mechanic. And it's a resource that they don't have to worry about running out of, or something that they have to actively manage in a sense. And when it comes down to it, there are three main forms of regenerating health. And one of these, I'm sure you've probably ran into, but you may not even consider it to be one. The first one is partial regenerating health. This is where you have a health bar, and instead of having just one long health bar, it's basically sectioned off, like 3 or 4 quarters or pips or whatever you want to say. And what happens is you can take damage, and as long as it doesn't empty out one of your segments, your health will regenerate that segment. If you lose a segment of health, then you will not regenerate that segment. So let's say I have 4 segments of health, I take 2.5 segments worth of damage in a fight, it will only regenerate up to those 2 segments. And then segments 3 and 4, I will have to use an in-game resource to recover. The most famous example of this, or the one that immediately comes to my mind, would be the Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay. Very fantastic game if you haven't played it, and that may be worth talking about in another critical thought later on. But the rules, as I just said, were like that. There were in-game health stations that you had to use whenever you lost or completely lost a segment of health. A more recent example of this would be Tom Clancy's The Division, which worked along similar designs. Now, the second and more common form of regenerating health is full regenerative health. This is where if you lose 1% or 99% of your health, you will recover as long as you're out of combat. What that means, of course, is we see this in games like Gears of War, Uncharted, so many more action games. I think Assassin's Creed does this. Pretty much, if you've played an action or action-adventure game in the last probably 8 or 9 years, maybe even more than that, it probably features a full regenerating health system. Gears of War, if I didn't mention that as well. And this is what is the common form of it today, and it's what a lot of people make fun of with regenerating health. The idea that I can take 20 bullets to the chest, a rocket launcher gets set on fire, as long as I find a wall to hide behind, I'm perfectly fine. Nathan Drake is the greatest, most badass archaeologist or treasure hunter in the world, and can take on entire armies thanks to his healing factor. And that's pretty much what a full regenerating health system is. It's Wolverine's healing factor, for those of you who know the X-Men. And this is the most common form of it. And we'll talk about the practicality of this in the next minute or two. Now, here's the final example, and this is the one that you may not even consider to be an example. And I'm still not even sure the exact name that I want to use for it either. I would like to say consumable regenerating health or limited time regenerative health. If anyone can think of a catchier title, please let me know in the comments. What this is you have a consumable item that recharges your health, and it's always with you in game. It's always assigned to your character, but it has limited use in some way, shape, or form as a balancing mechanic. And when I think about it, there's only 2 games that come to my mind that make use of this: Diablo 3 and the Souls series. And like I said, you may not consider something like the Estus Flask from Souls regenerating health, but in a way it is. And as a quick tangent, when they announced the Collector's Edition for Dark Souls 2 or 3, I remember seeing that they were going to offer an actual Estus Flask that you could get for, like, as part of the edition. And I was really tempted to do that, but I never heard if you could actually drink out of it. If anyone actually bought that, please let me know, because that would be one thing I would love to have with me at all times. But, getting back on topic, in the Soul series, the Estus Flask is an item you get pretty much within the first 10 minutes of play. And what it is a health potion that recharges itself whenever you use a bonfire or a checkpoint. And of course, as we all know, the bonfires will essentially respawn all the enemies. So these are essentially ways of preserving your data or just recovering. So the Estus Flask itself, the number of charges and the power of it can be enhanced through finding items in-game. And when you run out of charges, you have to go back to a bonfire. There is no in-game item that you can use to add, 3 or 4 charges to it. In Diablo 3, what they did was originally you had the potions. You just had an entire, warehouse of potions of varying qualities in your inventory. What they did, starting with, I want to say patch 1.02, but it could be a later one, is everyone has one potion that scales with your level, and whenever you use it, I think there's a 60 or 90 second delay before you can use it again. And what this kind of limited time or limited duration regenerating health system does is it puts the power of healing in the player's hands. You can heal in either one of these games no matter when. If you're fighting a boss, if you're hiding behind cover, if you even just stun an enemy during a duel and you have 3 seconds, you can heal. The balancing act is that A, it's limited. With Dark Souls, you have just 8 or 9 charges, and then or even less than that at the start. In Diablo 3, you have the time limit. And what this does is it prevents it from becoming overpowered. Anyone who's played a Souls game will tell you that if you had infinite Estus flasks, there wouldn't be a challenge. You'll be able to get away from almost any fight, heal, and just win through a war of attrition. Same thing with Diablo 3. If I could just spam Q every time my health dips, where's the challenge in that in hardcore mode? What the limited time does is essentially, again, puts you in control. You don't have to wait for the game to tell you to heal, you do it yourself. But the challenge is, when do you use it? Do I use one of my precious Estus charges while I'm at half health? Do I wait a little bit longer than that? When do I use it? Do I try to use it after the enemy attacks me? Or do I want to put a little distance between myself before I do it? And then in Diablo 3, the challenge is, okay, I'm almost dead, let me use it, but do I want to re-engage these guys, or do I want to get the hell out of there? Can I get the hell out of there, or do I need to fight? And again, we could easily talk more about it. But we're 11 minutes in, so let's quickly move on to the next part. What regenerating health systems have done is change the pacing of a lot of these games. Like we said, in the original action-adventure genres, playing these games was a battle of attrition. Rooms and enemies essentially, as long as they did damage to you, you were on a downward slope towards failure. If there's 15 battles between you and the next checkpoint, you could do 13 of those perfectly well, have a horrible time on number 14, and then die at encounter 15, and then you have to start the whole thing back over again. This also, again, made it so that encounters became essentially almost like one thing. Even though you had to fight 15 battles, it's really just one giant battle because your health is preserved across it. What regenerating health does is it allows players to enter each battle or encounter essentially as a blank slate. It doesn't matter if I did a horrible job on the last fight or I fought that one perfectly, I'm going to have the same amount of health going into each fight that I did in the previous one. And what this means is, from a level design and essentially pacing point of view, you can design each encounter knowing that the player has full health, which means that you can make things always escalating, always challenging, and you don't really have to have a easy encounter in order to give the player a chance to recover. It's always done simply at the start or before each fight. From a structure point of view, this also reduced the need for secrets, because many games hid healing items and stuff like that in walls or behind secret switches, etc. Now that you can just recover your health by itself, it removes a lot of that. But again, that's another topic altogether. And speaking of which, as another kind of example of this limited duration regenerating health, Doom 2016 would be an example of that, with the glory kill system. As long as you can get the glory kill off by killing an enemy, you can recover your health during any battle, and sometimes 3, 4, or even more times during a single fight. But again, it's limited because you must stun an enemy and you must get the glory kill for it to pull off. And again, it's just a really great way of redesigning Doom. But again, that's easily another topic. When it comes to regenerating health design, this is one of those systems that, again, you really need to figure this out as early as you can in a game's development, because this will affect the pacing, weapon damage, and again, even just the environment and level designs of your title. Because your health is always regenerating, you need to decide, again, how you're going to do that. Is this going to be, a 5-second wait? Is this going to be you must be behind cover? Is it going to be something limited like the Estus flasks? And you also have to factor that into level and enemy design. With regenerating health systems, enemies with small rapid fire attacks are very annoying, because as we all know, even if they're only doing 1 to 2 points of damage, because they are interfering with your healing, it means that those big guys who are doing 15, 20 can easily rip you apart. And it also becomes all the more annoying when you're hiding and you're waiting for your health to regenerate, and all of a sudden some random bullet hits you and stops the whole process. And like I said, in terms of level design, this also means you need to design or have areas for the player to take cover. Cover systems become a very big deal in games with regenerating health. If you put the player literally into an open field and ask them to fight, there's going to be no cover for them to heal, and it can make things very imbalanced and difficult to get around. But if I keep talking, we'll be here for another 10 minutes. So let's wrap things up here, and maybe we'll turn this into a part 2 if anyone has any comments or would like more questions or discussions on regenerating health. Regenerating health is a major deal, and like I said, it has become a major institution of game design and structuring these titles. While you can still have consumable or in-game health systems, it's become more favored to have regenerating in some way, shape, or form. Yes, it's not real and it's fantasy, but it's a more accepted form of fantasy. For those of you watching, another question, besides coming up with a catchier name for a limited time or consumable regenerating health, do you have any examples of games that you really loved this kind of regenerating health system for? And are there any examples that you felt weren't good? And more importantly, why did you feel it wasn't a good form? Because like I said, regenerating health is become one of those like blueprints that a lot of developers will usually copy and paste from one game to another. So it's kind of interesting to see when it doesn't work in a specific title. But let's end things here. As always, once again, thank you so much for watching today's Critical Thought. Again, if you're enjoying things, be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to check out those plays of Bloodborne coming real soon, or watch it live on the Twitch stream, GW Bycer. Once again, I am Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com, where we examine the art and science of games. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow with more great content here and on GameWisdom.com. Take care. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and of course share with your friends. It always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GWBycer for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon.